Members of Germany's FBI will today continue their second round of investigations as they launch this fresh attempt in the search for Madeleine McCann, part of that murder investigation being led by German police. But the question leading the discussion over that search is this being led by fresh intelligence, or is it a desperate last roll of the dice as the German authorities come to terms with the fact that the prime suspect, the sole suspect in the disappearance and murder of Madeleine McCann is Christian Bruckner, and he could be set to be freed from prison as early as September. Now, the authorities, in support of the Portuguese officers in the area, are searching around 20 private plots of land to the east of where I am now, in Praia de Luz, on the south coast of Portugal. They're looking around an old farmhouse, which is understood to be connected to Christian Bruckner, although the extent of his connection to that area hasn't been disclosed by the authorities. They are said to be cutting away at the quite rough and wild shrubland in that area. There have been tents popping up, forensic sites being used by the authorities, and they're also been pushing pipes into some wells near the farmhouse as their searches continue. Now, this is not the first time that that area has been searched. In the 18 years since the British toddler's disappearance, much of the area that they're looking at now has been scoured previously. But what the German and Portuguese authorities will be using now is a geo-radar, a new piece of equipment that will allow them to scour underground before they start digging, to check up to 15 foot beneath the surface if there is something worth searching for. That's a new piece of kit in their arsenal. This is the second day of searches now, and they'll be hoping desperately that they can finally have some more information to lead to charges on their prime suspect. We've been granted access to this area by the police this morning before they move journalists away. This is the sort of shrubland that they'll be searching while they conduct their investigation into the disappearance and, they're also saying, the murder of Madeleine McCann. You can see a couple of police forensic tents just further away in this sort of shrubland area. And if you just come with me here, you can see this is the sort of terrain that they'll be working through. It is quite rough, it is shrubland. We have seen the police using trimmers yesterday to cut through some of this. We've also seen them using drains to get into a couple of wells. Now, we're told that they're likely to be looking for a body, but indeed any forensic information that could tie their prime suspect, Christian Bruckner in Germany, to the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. But it's not just the shrubland that they'll be digging and trimming away at to look for forensic evidence. They're also looking at some abandoned buildings, quite like this one here, just within the police search area. This is behind the police barrier where they've granted us this access just for a brief period this morning. So this is the sort of building that they will be looking at. We have seen police officers around this area this morning conducting some searches, but also just conducting their morning routine and maintaining that area. So they will be looking at these buildings. We're not entirely sure what they're searching for in them, but we do know that that prime suspect, Christian Bruckner, used this area as a sort of rat run while he was a notorious thief in the 2000s before Madeleine McCann disappeared. Now, he's set to be released from prison in September, which is leading many to ask this question. Is the current search being conducted by German and Portuguese authorities being led by fresh intelligence, or is it a desperate last roll of the dice? Well, Ailey and Eamon, you just referred to the fact that the Germans were securing the area, but a couple of hours ago, we were able to walk onto it without any interference. A few police officers standing near a barrier seemed happy to let us walk onto the area where they were conducting searches. You see behind me there is a police barrier up now, but at 6 a.m. this morning we were able to just drive past it, go towards the scene. There wasn't a police van here at the time, and the police officers at that location told us that we could have about an hour to walk around, film footage. We had observation of on their forensic tents and also some of the police officers conducting what looked like preliminary searches as they prepare for day 2. But then at about 7:30, a few more senior officers rushed over in a vehicle and removed us from the site, saying that we absolutely should not have been there, that we hadn't been permitted access to go there. They hadn't granted that, but of course their colleagues had done so just before. So a very strange start to day 2 for us here in the Italia area, which is just a couple of kilometres away from Praia de Luz, that area where Madeleine McCann was taken some 18 years and 1 month ago. And as we understand it, on the first day of that renewed search effort, nothing significant. On the search site that we were on earlier this morning, we did see some of the shrubland that they would be trimming at, and also the old farmhouses that we understand they are searching today. Now, we did see yesterday some German and Portuguese authorities putting drain pipes down 2 wells near a farmhouse not very far from where I am now. It's likely that that search operation will continue today, that specific form of searching. But also, Ellie, they've got, as I think you were mentioning earlier, a new form of technology to aid them in this search, a geo-radar, which will allow them to scan 15 feet underground before they conduct any digging. It's hoped that this will provide more accurate opportunities and save some time in those searches, because a couple of years ago, when they were searching at a reservoir 35 miles northeast of this location, which was known to be an area where the prime suspect, Christian Bruckner, liked to relax and be alone, they were digging up to 20 piles at a time without actually knowing what they were looking for, taking debris and soil away, we understand, for forensic examination. But now it's hoped that that digging will be more directed. Well, German and Portuguese police officers are continuing their search here in the Italia area, this village just a few miles east of Praia de Luz. And behind me, you can see a JCB digger, which is moving around and has been digging. We've heard it working hard for the last couple of hours here in this area of shrubland, but also some dilapidated old farmhouses. And this area is really key because 18 years after Madeleine McCann's disappearance, this is the location where the prime suspect, Christian Bruckner, was known to keep a house where he was staying as a notorious thief. This was an area where he kept as a sort of rat run. It's also around this location that the police believe he made a phone call within the hour of Madeleine McCann's disappearance. Now, this search that's being conducted right now, with this digger activating today, is part of a desperate attempt to gather some evidence before Christian Bruckner is released from prison. He's currently serving a 7-year sentence in Germany for raping a 72-year-old American tourist in southern Portugal, but he's set to be released in September. Now, the German prosecutors desperately want new evidence around the circumstantial evidence they've already got to finally bring charges against their prime suspect. Christian Bruckner denies all of the allegations against him, but here, near Praia de Luz, in the Italia village, both German and Portuguese investigators can be heard using chainsaws, strimmers, digging into wells, getting as much information as possible, and now also using a digger around dilapidated houses that Christian Bruckner is known to have a link to.